Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin. Today we're unboxing the Dell XPS 17. So this is the first XPS 17 that we've seen in about a decade or so. It was discontinued as being brought back. It's not a completely new product, but obviously there have been a lot of changes since in the last 10 years. PCs have changed quite a bit. Remember, 10 years ago was the Windows 7 era. It wasn't even the Windows 8 era yet where touch was becoming popular and stuff like that. So since then, the bezels have been knocked down considerably. That became the XPS thing long after the XPS 17 was discontinued. It was narrow bezels. Remember, the webcam was moved to the bottom, but it was meant to have the immersive Infinity Edge display. The XPS 17 came alongside a broader redesign that happened this year. First, it happened with the XPS 13 that was at CES. And what happened was they switched from 16:9 to 16:10 displays. They chopped down that bottom bezel. And they have the webcam on top with an IR camera. Remember they had the webcam on the bottom. Then one year they added the IR camera for Windows Hello facial recognition. And the next year, they moved the webcam to the top, and they killed the IR camera. One generation after they brought it in. Now we've got the IR camera on top, 16:10 display, tiny chin. The XPS 13 is an incredibly small footprint now, even smaller than it was. And so then they did it to the XPS 15, and at the same time, the new XPS 17. So what you're seeing is a 17-inch 16:10 display with incredibly narrow bezels, including the bottom bezel, and a lot more power too. So this is a 17-inch laptop that's very much fitting into the footprint of a 15-inch laptop. And that's one thing I hate about 17-inch laptops is that you go and you put them in your bag and they don't fit. You need a special larger bag to use these laptops, and I don't think that's going to be the case here. But you also get more power, as I said. This one has a Core i7-10750H, which is a hex-core 45-watt processor. It's no different from the one used in the XPS 15. We've been seeing those 45-watt processors in the XPS 15 for generations, and that's great. CPU is the same. No surprise there. It actually goes up to a Core i9, what is that, 10885H? Yeah, so, but we're looking at octa-core processor. That's the octa-core Core i7 as well, which is great. The GPU is different, though. That's the more exciting thing. The XPS 15 comes with this Nvidia Geforce RTX 1650 Ti with 4 gigs of GDDR6. This one actually has a Geforce RTX 2060. So that actually means that it supports things like real-time ray tracing, deep learning supersampling, also known as DLSS. So you can actually treat this as something of a gaming laptop, although it's not aimed at gaming. This is more of a creator laptop. It's aimed at people who are going to edit videos and photos and stuff like that. More of stuff that I'm going to do on here. So let's start getting this open, because this is a fairly big box for a big laptop, but really it's not as big as it could be. Whoa, look at this. And there's a box inside. There's nothing else inside this box. You know, I've seen XPS laptops come in several different ways where sometimes there's a little box the charger is still separate. So this comes in a little piece of plastic. You can just slide that off. Now let's take a look. We've got the usual XPS silver body, which I expect nothing else from the XPS 17. This was actually the only color that the XPS 15 came in for a while, and then they just introduced a frost color with the woven glass white interior for the XPS 15. So I'm not surprised that the 17 is exclusive to this color. You can see it does have the silver colored edges, where with the previous design it was black on the edges, and you're going to see that black on the interior with that woven carbon fiber look, and now it's going to start to boot up. We don't really want it to boot up just yet, because I want to take a look at a couple things. In the box, we've got a charger. This is going to be 130 watts, which is a bit surprising to me. That seems like a fairly low wattage for a 17-inch laptop that's got RTX graphics and a 45 watt processor. So you can take a look at this here. Beautiful. All right, this is just beautiful. This is the 4K model. It does come in FHD Plus as well. It does have touch. You know, according to the spec sheet that Dell sent me, it's 4.65 pounds for the non-touch model that has a 56 watt-hour battery. You're looking at 5.53 pounds with touch, but a 97 watt-hour battery. It's a big difference. So, I mean, it doesn't feel particularly heavy. 5 pounds seems fine to me. But yeah, just going back to this charger though, 130 watts does not seem like a lot, but it is USB Type-C. This is the only USB Type-C 130 watt charger that you're going to find right now. Dell's the only one that does it. They started doing it with the XPS 15 2-in-1, which was an awesome device. We haven't seen that in a while. But it doesn't use power delivery, so you're going to want to keep that in mind. That's why you're not going to find another 130 watt USB-C charger. And then, of course, we got our cable here. We've also got an adapter in here. This came with the XPS 15 as well. It's a USB-C adapter, and then you can plug in USB Type A or HDMI. And of course, the reason that we have a USB Type A adapter in there is because there are no USB Type A ports. And yeah, so what we have are 4 USB Type C ports, and out of those 4 ports, I believe 2 are Thunderbolt 3. Actually, no, I take it back. All 4 are Thunderbolt 3, which is quite impressive. I don't expect them to be full Thunderbolt 3 ports because they weren't on the XPS 15. The XPS 15 had 2 half Thunderbolt 3 ports and 1 USB 3.1 Type-C port. Now, I know this because I did try to use a Thunderbolt 3 dock with 2 4K monitors and it didn't work out. Now, that's the difference between like a half Thunderbolt 3 port and a full one. With a full one, you can use a Thunderbolt 3 dock and connect it to 2 4K monitors without a problem. Let's take a look at one other thing here. This is the HP Envy that was sent to me. I just want to look at some other devices and see what's bigger. Now, the XPS 17 is a little bit bigger here. No surprise there. You know, I mean, it is a 17-inch laptop, but when they say things like it's a 17-inch laptop in a 15-inch footprint, you have to look at some 15-inch devices because that's a bold statement. This is a Lenovo Legion 7i. That's a gaming laptop. You know, because you got to remember, yeah, and this is still, it's a little bit wider, but actually it's not quite as tall. So, I mean, you're seeing more and more devices with thinner bezels. So when they say 17-inch and a 15-inch footprint, a lot of times that's really comparing it to 15-inch laptops from a couple years ago that didn't have the same narrow bezels that they have today. And that's not, you know, like Dell is still doing amazing things with these narrow bezels, but, you know, comparing it to a premium 15-inch laptop that's out in 2020, probably not. This is, of course, made out of machined aluminum. It's got that chrome-colored Dell logo stamped in the lid. It's the new XPS design. So if we look on the side here, we do have an SD card reader, a 3.5 millimeter audio jack, and there's 2 of those Thunderbolt 3 ports. And then on the other side here, 2 more Thunderbolt 3 ports. So this is something like it's almost like it's meant to compete with the MacBook Pro, which also has 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. So and nothing else. So this is a trend that Apple did kind of start. Now look inside here. We've got a full-size keyboard, no number pad, which is fine by me. I'm not a fan of the number pad, but it's a full-size keyboard. You got your speakers on either side of it. A massive trackpad. Look at that thing. It's huge. You could park a truck on it. I love it. That's another thing. But like when I reviewed the XPS 15, I called it a MacBook killer or MacBook Pro killer. And the reason that and by the way, it triggered a lot of Mac fans. A lot of people are like, well, it doesn't run Mac OS, so it's not a MacBook killer. But anyway, like it has so many things that I feel like are good about the MacBook Pro, and I feel like it does it better and at a better price, in fact. But one of those things is the huge trackpad here. That's something that Apple did, and I didn't see any other OEMs picking up on that, because really all you got to do is make use of the real estate that you have down here. So I was excited to see Dell do that, and now this one I believe is even bigger than the one on the XPS 15. So those speakers up here are Waves Max Audio Pro. That's what Dell uses. And one thing you'll notice, if you take a look at the software on this machine, you got Dell Cinema Color here, and there's going to be several apps like that. I'm guessing Waves is down. It's not. But there's an audio app somewhere on here. But Max Audio Pro. I was close. It wasn't under, but that's a feature called Cinema Sound. And there's Cinema Color, Cinema Sound, Cinema Stream, and that's adds up to something called Dell Cinema, and that's basically your whole streaming experience on Dell's consumer laptops, and it's quite nice. Well, it's like Cinema Color does HDR stuff like that. Obviously, Waves Max Audio Pro is premium audio quality, and then Cinema Stream uses killer wireless to prioritize your video stream, and that's meant to give you the best streaming experience. And of course, that's on this beautiful this huge, beautiful display, which I love it. And it's a super nice laptop that we got here. We do have McAfee Personal Security. That's going to be the first thing that I uninstall once I get this set up with my Microsoft account and everything. I do like to do a factory reset when I set these things up. This is probably running Windows 10 version 2004. It is. That's fine. We do have, like I said, there's a Core i7-10750 in this particular model, although they do offer it with up to a Core i9. I got the XPS 15 last year with a Core. I'm sorry. This one has a Core i7-10875H. They told me it was going to be a 10750. So it is offered with both. The 10875H is still a 45-watt processor, but it's got 8 cores instead of 6. So it's a lot more similar to the Core i9 that's offered, although it's not clocked quite as high. You can get up to 5.1 gigahertz speeds out of this. You can get up to 5.3 gigahertz out of the Core i9. So that's pretty impressive. It's an impressive processor. As far as graphics go, you can get this with either a 1650 Ti with 4 gigabytes GDDR6, or you can get it with an RTX 2060 with 6 gigabytes GDDR6, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, you got that real-time ray tracing. 32 gigs of RAM in this model. The XPS 15 that I reviewed was 16 gigs, and we should also have a terabyte of storage on this particular PC here. Yep, and like I said, it was 512 gigs on the XPS 15. Also, if we look in the Nvidia control panel, we will see that this is the model with an RTX 2060. I didn't actually realize that you could get it with this unit with GTX graphics. It would be super weird if Dell actually went out of their way to send me the high-end Core i7, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, 4K plus display, and then they cheaped out on the GPU. That would be super weird, but that's not what they did. So this one should have a 97 watt-hour battery, so it should actually have fairly impressive battery life. And you notice I lifted this up with one hand when I pull it up. It doesn't feel heavy, even open like this. And by this is as far as it goes back. But 97 watt hours should do pretty good. I often like to point out that you have a choice between good battery life and power. This one has power, and like a 45 watt processor plus a powerful dedicated GPU that you're going to find in here, that's going to use your battery life. And so the other thing that's going to use your battery life is this beautiful 4K display. You have 8.3 million pixels in a 16 by 9 4K display. I haven't done the math on this one, because it is 16 by 10, so the resolution's a little different, and it's probably higher. It's a lot of pixels for the GPU to push. It's a lot of pixels for the battery to light up. So 4K absolutely uses more battery life. And if you want the best battery life out of this machine, you get the 1080p model. But like I said, 97 watt hours should do pretty well. It's one of the biggest batteries you're going to find in any laptop. Okay. See, there's not much you can do here. You can pull off the bottom with some Torx screws. I wouldn't expect to find much stuff down here that you can replace, although Dell does publish a maintenance guide for all of its XPS, well, for all of its laptops, actually. And while you really, it's not meant to have user replaceable parts, you can, tinker with it if you're bold enough to do so. That it might void your warranty, but you do have the ability to do it. Last thing you'll notice is that right here on the top of the screen, we do have our webcam, if you can see it up there, and we do have an IR camera for Windows Hello, facial recognition, so you do have that option. You should also have a fingerprint sensor in the power button over here in case you like that better. Personally, I would stick with the facial recognition. One thing that really annoys me about Dell laptops is that when they put a fingerprint sensor in the power button, you still have to press the button twice, and I don't like that. Every other company that puts a fingerprint sensor in the power button, you only have to press it once, and then it boots up, and it just automatically logs you in. And that's a good solution to me. Dell considers that to be a security risk, though, thinking that if you press that button, you may press that button and walk away as the computer is booting up. So once the computer is booted, you have to press that button or place your finger on that button again. So that's why I just use facial recognition, because it's easier and more convenient, and I don't like the way that Dell implements a fingerprint sensor. All right, that's about it. I'm a big fan of the XPS series. I'm a big fan of, any company's premium laptops because they're just so good. Like, look at this thing. This is one of those things where you look at it and you could see that it feels good to use. The screen feels spacious. I'm not one thing about 13-inch laptops, which I use them all the time and it's fine. One thing I don't like about them though is just that the screen can feel cramped, especially like if you're doing something and all of a sudden you need to go split screen. It feels very small. And you just never get that feeling on something this size. Same thing with the XPS 15. This is even better though. But the XPS series just always feels so good with its narrow bezels. It's very immersive. It's great. I love it. And my favorite thing about this thing existing is that now I get to review 3 XPS laptops a year. Well, technically 4, including the XPS 13 2-in-1. And the thing is, going 1610 instead of 16:9 means that you're getting a taller display, but it also means that you're getting a narrower display. So, it's something that I don't care for as much in the 13-inch model. I'd rather see an XPS 14 if they were willing to do that. But instead, I'll stick with the XPS 15 and 17, which are just big enough to compensate for the different aspect ratio. So this is going to be great. I can't wait to spend more time with this. So stay tuned. I'm Rich from Neowin. Have a great night.